annual planning sounds really big. Annual, full year, scary. So we actually break a lot of our planning down into quarters. So we've actually just done one today. So really the annual plan starts with actually Q4's review, which is what we've done today. So we'll do in our weekly team meetings when it happens, but at the end of each quarter, or as near to the end as we can, what we call strategic thinking questions. So this is where we have all the team together, and they each have a sheet or a piece of paper, and we'll ask them the questions. So there's 6 questions. Don't know if we want to get onto that when we do how.
Yeah, we'll do that in the how, I think, yeah.
But yeah, in terms of when, so we have a quarterly review of the whole team, and then all that information kind of comes together to then do the annual plan, which actually happens before the start of the following year.
And we're recording this today on the 10th of December to give you an idea about when these things happen. So these sort of 2 weeks and then run up to Christmas are the time we do our quarterly planning, so Q1 2025, and also our annual planning for the whole of 2025, which also means we do a review of the quarter and a review of the year.
Yeah.
And we're going to be doing that. We're going to be doing the review of the year in next week's team meeting when we're doing a Christmas team meeting. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we know when we do it. So we do it at the end of each quarter, and then we do it at the end of the year. And that's all for the following quarter or the following year.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to do the quarterly ones. I think it would be pointless to get to the end of the year, just review the year, because it's too late. It's too far gone, isn't it?
We can't move the needle at all, can you?
If we're not performing quite right in one area, or we think something could be improved, we wait till the end of the year to review that. It's just too late, isn't it?
Well, we also had big targets for the 2 new branches that we had this time last year. Well, that got scuppered in the middle of the year because we decided to close the 2 branches. You need some flexibility to be able to change the plan as you go. It should be a living, breathing thing. Yeah. There are some non-negotiables that would need to be hit no matter what, but others are just the way you're going to do it. So the revenue shortfall that was taken out of the plan because of the 2 branches closing, we need to put that back in some other way. So we need to be able to move these needles or these levers in the last couple of quarters of the year because of the decisions that we've made during the year. In terms of where we do this, it's a variety of different places. So, Edward, you do some of this on your own planning at your own desk.
Yeah.
We do a lot with the actual team live in a team meeting like we've done this morning. Yeah. Phil and I take ourselves off-site, do at least a day, sometimes 2, where we just spend time on our non-negotiables and where we think that the direction of the business is. We have many, many meetings during all this time to make sure that you're on board, key members of the team are on board, and then the full team is on board when we deliver it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of elements, there's a lot of information, which is why you have to start this quite soon. The 10th of December might seem quite early to review the quarter, but there's so many other steps involved, isn't there, to bring it all together. But I do think it's super important to get everybody involved. There's no point trying to set a plan and not have, particularly your leadership team, if you have one of those, like we do at Ashdown Jones, if they're not involved, they're not as invested as directors as you are.
Well, then you're making decisions in a silo, like a dictatorship. That's not what me and Phil want to do. But also because it's got to be a balance really between us getting everybody involved, and particularly our leadership team, as you said, but also knowing what non-negotiables are ours, given that mine and Phil's sometimes differ a little bit, and that we're at different times of our lives. And also we're looking at our horizon, whereas you're not necessarily looking at the next 5 years, you're looking at the next 1 to 3 years. And it's up to Phil and I to know where 5 years, 10 years is going to take us. And therefore we need to know what steps are going to be in place now. So there's a bit of listening to the team, a bit of doing it on our own, and a bit of general sort of empowerment and understanding of where we're all trying to get to.
Yeah.
But I think what the difference is for me this year and for Phil is that you handle now all that planning based on where we want to get to. So we give you the destination and you decide the journey, basically, which is something we've never been able to do before.
Yeah, I mean, even down to just booking in all those steps, there's quite a lot to book in. So it's my responsibility to get all that arranged and organised, make sure it's in the team diary, make sure Sam and Phil are blocked out for 2 days and it's in their diary. Booking in the various other meetings to do with key performance indicators and all the other elements. So I think for you and Phil, I'd like to think that at least that's kind of covered. You know what to worry about that. It's in your diary and the team is in the diary. And then it's compiling all that data for you and Phil to be able to take it away and, take it all in and make decisions on how to perform in the company. But it's a good point in terms of everybody's, as we like to say, sort of helicopter view. Like you say, you and Phil are very much 5 years ahead. I'd say I probably can't see much past 2 to 3, like you said. But a lot of our team, they're like week by week,
Day by day,
day by
sometimes.
day, because they're very much on the floor and day-to-day activities and busy with all that kind of stuff. So it's hard for them to look further ahead. But sometimes they have really good insight into what maybe a smaller priority should be, particularly for the next quarter, maybe not on an annual basis, but some really good ideas today. So, it's important, I think, to pull everybody's input together.
Yeah, I think what they can't see, which is where you come in, is things like trends. So you can say, and I think we do this in the annual review, we had this many valuations, this many instructions.
Yeah.
This is our average fee now. These are things that they don't see because they can only see Rose Cottage is, completing today. Oh, no, it's fallen through. They can only see that what's in front of them. And so this gives them the tools to be able to think longer term, to feel more secure in their job, and also to understand what part they play in that journey.
But as well, I think this process, and I hope we'll see it more, because this is the first time as operations manager for the whole group that I'm involved doing this, that sometimes maybe you and Phil need reining back in. Sometimes 5 years is great, but maybe there's a big challenge going on here and now that needs fixing in the next quarter. So I'm hoping by having one person compiling all that information, we can really focus in the right areas for Q1, Q2, 3 and 4. Because maybe one, we really need to just tackle, I'm not saying it is this, but it could be something to do with progression or, the website or something like that. And that needs dealing with first before, some new big idea or project or plan or whatever, which we want to do, but it's where do we slot that into the year ahead?
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty really of this plan, that it's flexible enough to be able to accommodate new ideas and changes in circumstances, but rigid enough that, we were pretty much bang on target, weren't we, this year? In fact, we finished up, as in we're going to finish up by the time we've got through December.
Definitely.
So that just shows that our planning and our predictions were pretty much spot on. But what also happened halfway through the year is Phil and I were talking about the fact that we weren't enjoying having the other 2 branches and that we didn't want to keep them going. And almost exactly at that moment, you came in and said, can I have a meeting with you because I think we should close the Dales branch.
Yeah, and I had all the stats and data ready and, finance really. We were on the same page, weren't we, in regards to that.
But that actually speaks as well to empowering your team. So if you've got an Edward or somebody, that it fulfills that kind of role, you need to be completely transparent with them, because otherwise they can't give you the advice and the guidance that you need. In fact, if Phil and I hadn't have been talking about it that week, we still would have sat down and listened to you and your proposal with your stats, because you had all those figures at your fingertips and you're able to see the problem it was causing for the Lakes branch.
Yeah. And now, again, where it's good to review in the Q4 review that we've just done, everybody's taught, the positives of it, the lesson learned and the strengths and what we can leverage going into the new year, the fact that we have focused. So it's a great way to review those big changes and decisions and know that they did actually work.
And make the team feel involved in them, so they don't feel like things are being done to them.
Yeah.
Things are being done with them.
Exactly. But again, where you said flexibility, it's got to be there. Like when that happened for Q3 for me, that was a massive project to actually close down 2 companies. Even down to getting furniture sold and getting cars back and, offices and insurance and all this kind of stuff that comes with that. So other projects, get put on the shelf slightly. But I suppose part of this process is remembering to get things that have been put on the shelf back off and, to stay moving, pushing ourselves forward. But yeah, it's got to be a bit fluid.
It definitely has, but I think that's the beauty of this process, really. So the who. So like I've just said, Phil and I kind of decide the destination based on all the facts we've been given and all the insights from all the team members, and particularly the very high level insights that we get from our management team, who are Edward and Hannah. What we get back from you guys is also a reflection of what you've heard from the team. So it kind of distills that information anyway, but you also give me it as a spreadsheet with key things highlighted on it that have come up several times. And then we can decide whether to discard it, shelve it, or to actually action those things. So what we do is Phil and I, during all the process that Edward's talking about, that he's getting on with, which is the strategic thinking questions with the team and his insights and Hannah's, Phil and I will take ourselves off site, which we're doing on, I think, next Thursday, I think it is. Yeah. We're going to, it's usually 2 days. We can only squeeze in 1 day this year just because of various different things that are going on with the family. But we're going to take 1 day, and it starts off the day as a rant from Phil. So I put a big board on the wall and he just rants. and another thing, and another thing, another thing, and I'm frustrated by this, and I wish we did more of that, and we should have done that, and all those things go on the board. And then I add a few of my own, and then we start to shape it into some key themes, and I sort of underline or put a big ring around certain words like focus or profitability or team or brand, or the words that are coming up time and time again for me and Phil.
Headlines.
Yeah, and then we correlate that with what the insights are from you and Hannah, and particularly you, because you're obviously filtering Hannah's as well. And then by the time that comes back to me and Phil, we've got some idea of what that plan could look like. And we might decide to not address that particular issue for the whole of 2025. We might decide it's a very urgent issue. It needs applying ourselves to in quarter one.
Yeah.
Or we might put it sort of halfway through the year and then be prepared to take it back off again if something more important comes up.
Yeah.
So again, that speaks to the flexibility.